thing that stupid and heavy now. So it's
Good idea.
we'll be using a drywall lift and cutting the pieces a little smaller, and being sane, especially being that this bicep is like way up here by my shoulder now. So
Ouch. Yeah, not good.
yeah, it's all right. It's all right. You know, you only do stupid stuff like that once, and then you go, I'm not going to do that again. So
All right.
what's
Are
up?
we on?
I mean,
I think we're
yeah, it's going. We're
excellent.
30 seconds in. So what'd you think? You almost kicked everybody's butt.
It was I was close. It
That was
was
pretty awesome.
yeah, dumb failure, but I guess luck is a residue of your preparation. So I changed belts and everything, but yeah, there's some I will what can I do? But yeah, it was really fun. Really had spent a lot of time at the track in the last 6-7 weeks, and
Good.
had time to do it, which was really fun.
Nice.
And just slowly but surely got more and more comfortable trying to tune my own car, which I was lucky enough not to have to do a lot. And even when I was running 8 scale, I used to come to you for hints and tips, where so. But yeah, so kind of got it to a point where I thought it was close, and then Gil reminded me I needed to go drive and stop worrying about the setup every time I hit the track. So, but yeah, so it really kind of clicked for me driving wise, like last qualifier, I think, when I was able to TQ even though we were down Robbie, but yeah, I was able to chase down JJ, and it was kind of like, in the past, I think if that was the case, I would have got nervous. Even, it's funny, I've been doing this for X amount of years, but if you don't race a lot and you hear your name, you start going nuts, right? So I heard my name, and they're giving me the count that you're second behind, you're absent, and I just was able to turn in fast laps, and I'm like, okay, I'm finally kind of back to being able to push and not get so nervous, and then it just was just got faster and faster from there. So it was really fun.
Nice. Yeah, just from looking from the outside, I was laughing because me and a couple guys were talking, and they're like, Joel's running pretty good. And I looked at the lap times and the pace, and I'm like, they're in trouble. I'm like, I consider you kind of like how Lamberto's always been, where if you're gonna have a fast car, you're not gonna be like myself or some of the other guys that are gonna drive way over their head and turn some hero laps. So the fact that you were running as fast as you were, knowing that you're driving at a pace you could put out for an hour, I kind of laughed. I'm like, these guys are screwed. They're in trouble. Like Joel's gonna beat them.
Yeah,
So I really kind of expected it. And then when they said you had the lead and then had trouble, I was like, man, see, but I told you, I knew he was gonna be there.
it was so close. Yeah, we had 3 laps, a pit stop on first place, so we were pitting 3 laps, or at least 2, sometimes 3 later than they were, and then I was rolling my car around, just driving electric style, because I've been trying to get there, and I finally got the car, the motor, everything to act like I wanted it to. So I was really trying to save tires, because I think I might have went out a little small because I forgot the 4-minute warm up, and I really ran a hard warm up to get the motor up to temp and trying to get everything where I thought it would be to start the race. So, but yeah, we were close. I mean, Chris is a great driver, and they deserve the win, and they've been fast all year out there. So, but I could stay up with them without pushing it, which was really good. So we'll see. There's another race in October, hopefully.
Yeah, I saw that.
We can pick up where we left off and see if we can challenge for a win.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, what people don't realize, I'm sure, is that what was that, 2007? You won the A-Scale Nats in Toledo.
Yeah, that was Vegas. Vegas. Actually.
Was that Vegas? So that was Vegas. That was
it was Vegas, and I think I won Great Lakes that year or the year before.
That was Great Lakes that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I only ran sedan and you ran A-Scale.
Right.
So I could pit for you.
And you were and you were telling me, how come you let off when you go down to the end of the left side of the track? You got to run that flat out. I'm like, what do you mean run it flat out? There's no way. You can't do that. You're like, yeah, keep me down. I think you grabbed my transmitter. I did it. I'm like, Oh shit! Oh man!
I remember grabbing your transmitter. I did it. And I'm like, you're like, okay, you're gonna break my car. Give me that back.
Yeah, give me that thing back. Yeah.
You
So
stupid ass. Give me my car.
that's the thing
That
with
was
eight
great.
scale. The cars, you can run them so hard, and it's
Yeah,
fun,
and
but man, you can
that's the
wear them
thing.
out.
Like the
Yeah,
harder you run them, like usually the better they work. That's the
you got
crazy
to run them
part.
hard. They don't turn.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
be fearless with them. And so, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. It's good to see that you ran that good. So,
It's a lot of
yeah.
work. As you know, eight scale, I don't know if there's any class that takes more prep. Obviously, Nitro in general and the off-road guys do a
Yeah.
lot of prep. It's just breaking in engines and making sure you had everything ready because the engines, I mean, they're finicky, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they
Oh, yeah.
peak really fast. So it's like, do I leave it squeaky or get it where I want to be? And
Yeah.
so, yeah. And then it was over 100 out there the first few days. So
Oh,
that
wow.
makes it, that was just
That always
draining.
makes it really hard on the engines and the tuning because you want to push more,
Yeah.
but then you're like, do I really want to kill the compression in this motor, getting it too hot too early? Or
Exactly. I ran that Kalari head, which I really liked, the vertical fin head, which is more, and
yeah, I saw it. It
it
looks
was
cool.
really, it was looked great, and it was really consistent. I really liked it, and so we're going to keep playing with that. But I kind of think the old OPS heads were like that and all that, and I think it might be a better way to do things. So heat was not an issue for us, that's for sure. So
that's good. Good. So when did you start running the Infinity stuff?
Wow. They got me a car right after, basically just before the Worlds. And I wanted to run the World, but they didn't get me a car till like a week before. And I'm like, it's not my thing to, I haven't run, I have no engines. I'm not going to go out and just be a back marker at the Worlds. It's no fun. So, so I started racing right after the Worlds. I had my Kyosho cars and then finally got that built. And I ran that car for, over a year. Just replacing parts and stuff. And then I finally put a new car together for the Nationals with a different front end, which worked really well, obviously. And but yeah, so because Nikaido, it's a Kyosho connection there with Nikaido.
Yeah,
so
he's awesome.
It was kind of fun. Yeah,
he's still the way he handled all the egos of us back in the day with the Kyosho team and was able to like keep putting it all together and make it a car that all of us are like, this is awesome, good job. Like he's amazing. So
yeah, no, cars are easy to work on. It's fun. Things fit. It's a great build. So that's been fun, and just Robert's been supporting me a little bit at Ulti Tires. Robert Morris, KO.
Yeah.
So, I've been getting support here and there, buying stuff a little bit here, a little bit there, and just trying to keep it low key and have some fun.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Low key to go almost win a Nationals.
I know. Yeah.
It was really cool. It's really cool.
I think people were getting a little shocked at the end, like, oh man, what's going on?
I still look back at I went and ran Toledo 2 years ago. And I'd only raced one other time at Toledo in like 7 years. That's how I quit after the Worlds in Miami. And I showed up and everybody was kind of looking at me like, yeah, okay, whatever. You could kind of tell like why are you, this is going to be great. We're going to kick your ass, type of thing. You could see it. And some people made some comments to me after the race with that. And so I'm sure you had a lot of the same there. And then you start running fast and everybody's like, oh, crap, he's still can wheel. Like we're gonna beat Joel Johnson. No, we're not gonna beat Joel Johnson. I'm like, this sucks, So I kind of saw some of that a couple of years ago in Toledo. Everybody forgets that you don't really forget how to race. You just lose where you're at in the time and scheme of things of how the cars work and what they need and that type of stuff. So that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you is how, like, obviously you were running out there some before with your Kyosho car. How much different is the feel and just the way it drives of the Infinity versus your Kyosho stuff that you had some time on, and obviously some success with winning the Nationals?
I think the car, in looking back, I think this car drives pretty similar to the Evo, the 2007 Evo, the last M3 whatever car.
Okay.
But it doesn't drive, but not like like the car before it, which I won the nationals. And these
Okay.
cars seem to drive a lot more off the front end and not
Yes.
the rear of the car. They don't swing. You can't get that rhythm kind of like you used to be able to get with these cars where you could whip them around.
Yeah.
But I think in the end the tire wear might be better. It's hard to tell without doing back to back. But the cars drive much more, I don't know, electric like in a way. You just can't hammer them and get at least the way I've been driving mine. I had a hard time getting the thing to rotate off the back of the car. And I think if you look at a lot of the cars out there, none of them really look like the older cars do. So it was, I was trying to get that feel, but it was just like, no, not happening. So finally you just go with it. You're just like, okay, I'm going to try a different approach on how to drive it and everything. And but like I said, the M3 was pretty, when I went back to back, like one day to the next with the cars, I'm like, wow, these cars did run pretty similar. And they, if you look at them, they're pretty similar. And the arms are a lot longer on these newer cars,
especially the rear
layout. Yeah, rear arms really long.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see what short arms do again. I kind of liked the short arm feel for what we were doing.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you the one key thing that I know from playing with my Capricorn car that's up there that I ran at that Nats, the body centering pin. For the rear body mount, that floating body mount, lower that, and you'll be like, hey, it feels like an old car again. If you measure like an old,
pretty low, but I'll have to lower it way down.
If you measure, measure your old car and then measure these new ones, and all of them keep creeping up. So I was out driving around, and I'm like, man, it just always feels on the nose. And Toledo, you can't I kind of drove that track like swinging around type of thing, And as soon as I lowered that down, it was like, oh, okay, I can do that again. I can hang the thing out sideways and kind of drive like that. So it definitely made the rear end feel more down in the track. So that was one thing I've noticed looking at all these cars is they kind of keep inching them up, trying to get that like more aggressive off center feel. And a big portion of that is just in that body centering pin.
Right. The centering pin.
So, yeah.
Yeah. When I played with mine, I found more of a difference, like driving in, like getting in the corner. The higher you made it, like you said, it made a little more sensitive. The lower you got it, it helped. Maybe it just gives, the body has so much leverage nowadays, right?
Yes.
I mean, these side dams and the bodies are so high. I went back. I wanted to run. I have a bunch of old Kyosho, the Can-Am, whatever the Lolas. What were we running?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of those, and I'm like, I'm gonna go run one of these just to get a reference. I'm like, I don't know what these cars do. And I go to put it on the car, and the thing was like, you couldn't even get the body mount low enough. I mean, it was literally jacked up an inch too high.
Oh, I know.
And I'm like,
I've got right here in my pile. That's my Lola. I TQ'd the Worlds.
Oh, there you go. See?
From Cincy, and it's literally like 40 millimeters lower at the top of the side dams. It's 40 millimeters. When you look at that, it's like. So that's why I keep laughing. Like with you guys having so much grip out there. And one of the guys I talked to about the A-scale stuff, he's like, do you think you could go as fast? I'm like, man, we barely went any faster at Toledo with all these stood up bodies. Like, I think it would at least be fun to just see like everybody else running 67 miles an hour on the straightaway with these stood up bodies and then go sailing by them at like 74 or 5 with these current motors and able to run like 5.5 minutes so easy. And, you could drive like an animal and, well, you might not have the corner speed, but it'd be interesting to see like how close that would stack up. So
yeah, there's so much adjustment in the chassis, and I don't know. It would be interesting to see because let's face it, the development's being done in Europe, right? Different tracks.
Yes.
I don't think they're nearly as high. I've never been over there to witness it, but I'm sure they get sticky. But I mean, this track,
nothing like the U.S. tracks. And I'll be honest, like when I went and ran like Listalo and some of those places, like the normal setups that we run in the US, you throw them away. And it was really cool. The Worlds at Listalo, I was struggling. I was really bad. Like 3/4 of a second a lap off the pace bad. And I don't remember if it was Ray Wood or somebody else that was there. but they had one of the new super slow-mo cameras at the time. They were like the new tech. So he was sitting in the corner at the end of the straightaway videotaping, and come walking by and showed me this video of my car. That thing is smashed into the ground through the whole banking through the sweeper at the end of the straightaway. So I was like, there's no bite here. Like, you walk on the track, and I mean, they don't spray anything. It's not sticky like it is here. So we just kept going stiffer and stiffer and stiffer and stiffer with the front end of the car. And it just kept gaining steering and corner speed and steering and corner speed. And by the end of qualifying, I was right on pace with everybody and was leading my semi and broke a rear belt. So
hey, you too. It's a common theme.
Ran one belt the entire World Championships, put on a new one, and it lasted 27 minutes, and I didn't make the final. So and the crazy part is Clary crushed everybody in the main, but my semi pace was on pace with his first 30-minute stint. So it would have been fun to at least try and keep up with him. But man, it was, it's when you go over and race on those type of tracks and the way the cars are set up, I think they end up going much stiffer suspension and lots like flexier chassis in order to make the grip. So you still have to be stiff to stay out of the banking, but then you need the flex to make the traction. So it's quite a bit different to race over there. That was one of the things I struggled with when I went there.
Yeah, the flex thing kind of puzzles me because, I mean, obviously it's Steel City's super high grip, so we just bolt everything down, whatever the stiffest we can make it. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, you're going to tell me cutting 2 little pieces out of the top deck is going to make it flex more, and it's a box section. I'm like, wow, I don't want to deal with that. It's like that's, that I cut too much. Or, it's like, I don't get the flex thing yet. I just give me a stiff car and let me, let's just.
For the most part, I mean, our U.S. tracks and that's a stiff car is ideal. It's, stiff because it's flat, just run them pretty stiff and use the suspension. And for the most part, all these big races have good grip. So it's usually pretty good.
We went, my setup compared to what I've been running at Steel City, I went much stiffer for the nationals because I didn't like where I was going. It was very traction sensitive. Like, it was good low grip, it was fast and high grip, but then when it would get a little over the top, it would switch from working good to flipping over almost. It was like there was no window as the grip went up. So then I decided to try just go the other way. So I just went stiff bars and all that. And I'm like, man, there's no way this is going to steer. But sure enough, it steered. And I actually ran much harder tires in the Nats. That's kind of what also another setup change. I've been running 32 35s, which I love how they wear equally, so you don't lose the stagger and all that. But boy, are they very speed sensitive, where that sidewall gives and then it kind of snaps back and it makes the car really edgy. Even though it's not spinning out, it's just not tracking like you want it. So I ended up going 35, 37, and then putting a little more steering in the front, and that's where the car, all of a sudden, you could drive it in hard, and it would float, it wouldn't die in the turn, and made a big difference. Those stiffer springs, stiffer tires, and I'm like, it shouldn't work, but it did, and it was.
But again, I think the way you're driving it more, rolling around 12 scale tire would suit that. If you're trying to throw the car around and hustle, probably not so much. So, but
this is true. Yeah. But man, my car came off. I measured all the tires, after the 21 minutes I ran or whatever, and everything was wearing perfectly. Like, all the tires were the same size, and I was 9 minutes from my tire change. I'm like, I was killing. I'm like dying. I'm like, everything is there. It's all working.
That's the worst when you, like, if you measure it and you're like, oh man, I was screwed anyway, like, who cares, and then you measure it and it's perfect and you're like, oh man, that really sucks. That's what really gets you down. You're like,
motor was so good. The motor was just running, and I could mess around with it and get it. I could lean it out, run it hard and lean it out. I could roll it and richen it up again. I mean, everything was like at my disposal, to make an hour main, right? I'm like, okay, if I have to run them down, I think I could do it. And if the motor got a little hot, I think I could cool it down and still run hot, fun, good times. And it was just, it was really fun. I enjoyed this whole challenge of getting back into it, kind of not, like I said, in the past, I always had chassis guys. Although I had Gil helping me a lot, and not much at the track, but we did a lot of long talks at work and stuff, kind of going over what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and yeah, we went a lot of different directions. But between that and talking with Mark Blackadder and kind of getting his wisdom just on the race, on the just pure, this is how, if it's doing this, go do this, very black and white ideas. And then just kind of playing with the engines, and really, really enjoyed that whole journey, if you will, through it, and having the track, that you could go to every week, that's the whole reason I got back to do it. That track is just, it's so nice, and it's such a luxury to have it there. And the good wines, oh my God, it's like Disneyland. I mean, it's spotless. It's the same every time you go there. And the guys that work on it, like Butterfield and Panda and Bill Jarrett, are out there. They're out there at 6 o'clock, 6:30 every weekend, cleaning it, getting it prepped, and it's like, how do you not support that? And it's just a joy to go up there. So really fun to do it, and a luxury. So, and and kind of getting back to being one of the guys at the racetrack, which I missed. It was really fun to go out there and spend a few weeks and get to, kind of get to know everybody and really have some fun. So good time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good time. That's awesome. So October. Wait, see until then. Might run an electric race. They have an electric race out there. There's a 1-up event. It's electric, so I may go play around with a sedan.
Don't do it.
I know it'll probably ruin.
After running the A scale, you'll go run that like, why did I do this? This is stupid.
I know it's going to be so throttle sensitive, and So. Yeah, I might, but I don't know. I just want to go out and run. So I really love to see more electric stuff out there, because it's such a nice track. But so that'll be that's been kind of my journey with the 8 scale stuff. But like you said, though, I think back on all the stuff we did, and I'm like, I would really love to see how much bite you can take out of the body and still get around the track. Do we need all the downforce? Do we need? Can we make up in other ways for it? With the chassis.
That was one of the arguments I kept having with the guys at IFMAR when they'd have their meetings at the Worlds, or EFRA, FEMCA, whatever, FAMAR, and that. It was first they were talking about going bigger fuel tanks, and eventually they talked into 16% and all this different stuff, and that's what I'm trying to explain. Like, you guys don't get it. The downforce makes so much load on the clutch and engine that it's what injures engines and makes mileage tough and all that. As soon as you get rid of that load, it's a piece of cake. You can make run time, and I know the guys probably in Europe where they have lower grip, they would complain about losing a couple millimeters off the backs of the bodies, but man, I go back to the bodies, and that's I painted up these 12 scale bodies and some of this stuff, and that's what I'm gonna kind of show and highlight as soon as the Bay City track gets done. I'm gonna go up there and run some of that. I got my old Switchblade 12 that's gonna be built, and hunted me down some round cell batteries, and we're gonna go. Yeah, and check this out. I don't know. It's a box somewhere. I found some flat wire 8 singles or 8 doubles from Dieter and stuff like that. So we're gonna go see how cool those cars sounded, even though they're going like slower than a 17.5 car down the straightaway nowadays. So I know. So we're gonna do I want to do some of that. That's the kind of fun stuff I want to do. So maybe eventually, once the girls are college or somewhere, then I'll come back and play a little bit and try and come race you once or twice.
There you go. Yeah, well, I've been having fun watching you with the girls and the hockey on Facebook, and it's really cool to see everything you guys are doing with them, and and the afterlife of the pro RC racer, if you will. Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, my parents took me to France and Germany for the Worlds and all that stuff, because I wasn't young enough or wasn't old enough to travel by myself and some of that stuff. So it only seems right. So we're going 100%. We're going to Dallas the first week of October for some CCM Invitational hockey tournament, and there's like 5 or 6 other tournaments scheduled. So it's going to be a busy year, so it's fun.
Awesome. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
fun.
very cool. Now, you're not doing any. You're not like shaping blades. You got to be doing something with the equipment in the hockey. I know
Of
you. You
course,
have a big workshop there. What
of
What are we
course.
doing?
No, we haven't. I haven't gone too crazy just because the machine to actually do like the blade profiling is really expensive. But I do have a skate sharpener, so we do sharpen
Okay.
their own skates whenever they want and have different hollows and whatever. There's a really good skate shop down the road from us where we have tested some different profiles for them. And I laugh because, my cousin played hockey and was phenomenal. So I asked him some of the stuff, and he's like, I don't know. I just gave it to our the team guy to take care of him, the equipment manager guy. And he's like, I don't know. So we got some different stuff for my daughter to try, and it was so funny because my oldest one, not so much. She just kind of goes and plays. The youngest one is like super picky. She'll take off out on the ice and turn around and skate back to the glass and holding the foot up, pointing at her foot like, why didn't you sharpen my skates? Type of thing. Like she notices all of it. She busted a stick in the middle of a game. We only brought one. I ran up in the pro shop, bought a stick. I'm taping it as I'm running back to the bench to bring her a stick, hand it to her. She finishes the game, comes off the ice, comes walking right over to me. Dad, the knob's too small. What were you doing? Really?
Running to the ice. Yeah.
The best is I measured it with calipers. It was like 1.5 millimeters smaller. It wasn't like I missed it by a lot. Like it was a tiny bit, and she noticed it and chewed me out at the ripe age of 11 for not getting it right. So she's something else. She can pick it. So we've had to work on some of the stuff like because they're girls, they don't have the upper body strength as us. So like
Right.
my daughter that's a goaltender, we've had to cut her stick down just so she can have better stick handling. But she doesn't like the weight of it. So I've got some tungsten stuff from RC that's epoxied into the plug in the end of the stick, to counterbalance it, and dumb stuff like that. So yeah,
Well,
I'm still me. I haven't changed. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I liked looking at your 12 scale bodies. I remember you showing me the 3D renderings of those years ago.
Yeah, those.
And it's so cool that somebody pulled those for you.
Yeah, just like,
Yeah.
That's so much
It's
fun.
amazing.
That's the kind of stuff I want to do. Like, can I make something crazy and we actually make it and it like drives okay or something fun like that? So that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in doing. No more serious.
On-road's ready for a reboot. The whole thing needs a reboot. So we need some new ideas, new different ideas on making cars look like cars and classes to go. The Nationals was wow. I couldn't believe the lack of entries, and that's a neat little track they have in Jersey.
Yeah.
That's such a fun place. But the car, everybody's just bored. I think it's like cars are super fast, which is fun, but 70-mile-an-hour touring car. I don't know if that. I don't know if we need that. But,
the 12 scale cars, they're back to running 3.5 with boost
and solid axle.
With solid axle on carpet. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine trying to run those Cleveland tracks back in the day like that? It's insane. It's insane.
Square off a board, you'd be building a new kit. So.
It'd be wedged into it. It'd be like front axle deep into 2x4.
Everybody's like 0.2 a lap slower now because you got to go around the car wedged in the board. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
so.
Well, you got to keep tinkering, see if we can.
I'm going to, but I want to do fun stuff. Like speaking of the girl, like we're going to build another backyard rink this year. So my wife's already sending me the links to the liners to get that are like twice the size of what we did last year. So, it'll almost be as big as like a Cleveland carpet track for a hockey rink in our backyard type of thing.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're already laughing. Like I'm going to take one of my old Volvas and make some spike tires and race my kid, a hockey rink layout and just dumb stuff like that. So
sure.
We'll see if I can get a nitro car to actually stay running in, freezing weather type of thing.
Just bolt the head button to it, take the head off.
Just tape the igniter right to the engine.
Exactly. Keep it rolling.
So we're gonna do fun stuff like that. But all right. So I had a couple other things here.
Sure.
Best Dieter van story.
Oh gosh, best Dieter van story that could be told on the
It doesn't matter. YouTube even allows swearing and everything else now. Why not?
So we were on our way back, probably from Whippoorwill. I just know we were going from Florida north, so I'm assuming it was Whippoorwill. And it's super late at night, and for some reason, and it's in the pink. It was the pink, right? The van with the busy bot, whatever, all the cool pink graphics or whatever. It didn't really say, and I guess it said Trinity on it. But anyways, we got the thing loaded down, and everything's jammed up against the windows, and we get pulled over. And I'm like, oh, what's going on with this? So the guy's like asking Dieter a bunch of questions, and he asks him, what's the revolver box in the back window? He thought it was a gun, right? The revolver. Car. And I think that's why we got pulled over, because I think we passed him and he saw the box like pressed up to the window. Just a revolver, and all these other boxes. It's been those. There's been riding around with he and Kenny Pullman and some shenanigans with the windows being basically locked up and all of us choking to death, and I'll just leave it at that. You spent a lot of time traveling in that van, and I did too.
I spent a lot. I went to Houston with them. I went the whole, Detroit to Trinity, and then to Mimi's, and then to Whip, and then back home multiple times. I think I did that 4 or 5 years. So I mean, I spent a lot of time.
A lot of AC/DC and Metallica. Right?
Yeah.
Cornfields. Oh my gosh.
One of the scariest ones. We were going to Minnesota, Minneapolis for a carpet. I don't remember if it was at Oktoberfest or Carpet Nats the one year. Dieter comes over this ridge, no big deal. Total sheet of ice right there. So next thing you know, I'm looking at the forest that way. The whole van is sideways, and he's full opposite lock, and it's wheel hopping down the highway at 75, 80. He catches it, tank slaps all of our stuff, bangs from one side to the other, and everything settles. He gets it squared, and he looks over at me. He's, holy shit, I need a change of underwear. Straight up in the exact shit. We're going to get something to eat and relax for a minute. And he's like, because it was a big ridge down into this forest. So, I mean, it was not good. If we would have went off the side of that, it would have been bad news. But James was a wheelman at that time. He saved it and kept us out of the weeds. So,
yes. Man, you imagine if he had the old care of the turtle on it. Remember, he used to pack that top on top of his, I think it was a maroon Caravan we were driving around in for a while there.
Yeah, that was before my time.
It's a mess.
That was before my time, but I remember seeing that thing at Whippoorwill and places like that. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that thing had 1 million miles on it for sure.
Yeah, that's too funny. All right, let's see. Do you remember when you almost gave Jim a heart attack in England? Do you remember that story?
You broke up. What was it? Say it again.
Do you remember England for the World Championships? What was that, 98?
Start it and all. I can follow.
Jim was snoring real bad.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
There was a lot of fun stories from that trip.
What?
I just remember Jim coming down.
I remember we were in France. I remember Jim electrocuting himself. I remember Jim grabbing the wrong end of the plug out when we used to have to use power converters, and I think we were in France. And he plugged the one end in, and the other end plugged in to the power converter. And he grabbed. I think he looked like one of those cartoon characters. We saw all the bones through the skin when he was like, nah, we had to literally yank the cord out of his hand. He get buzzed with 220. That was a little frightening too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I just remember the
yeah,
story of
there's plenty of travel stories for sure.
I remember Jim coming down. I was sleeping, and then all of a sudden I was having a heart attack, and apparently he was snoring, and you rolled over to like smack his bed, but you ended up like flat palming him right in the middle of the chest. He was sleeping. That was the one that I
I
always
think
remember.
right in the chest. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought I was dying of a heart attack. Asshole.
Oh man.
There's so many those kind of
Yeah,
stories.
he snored pretty bad.
Yeah. You wanted to
If
beat
I didn't
Jim
sleep that night, so yeah, it was a race for sure. So,
oh man, that's too funny. Let's see what else.
What else you got?
Was the Georgia Nats that we ran still like one of the most insane races you've ever run, or is something else top that?
The best. No, that was the best race I've had ever. That was so fun. And
so I still have that honor then.
The closest, the most banging. Yeah, you do for sure. And because we were banging doors the whole time, and we both got across the line. Yeah, like nobody got taken out really, or we were just battling the whole time, and both just like tumbled across the line, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think like that in the end, you're like we were like up in the air, and I think you beat me by like a half an inch or something to win that. So they showed me the picture afterward. They're like, it's like that much.
Right. I don't know. It's like A and B, right? It's up to the A and
but
B.
Both of our cars were like upside down. Like neither one was on the track, like making the corner. Like we were both up in the air going for the corner because we knew the timing loop was on a diagonal to that corner. So.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. That was Dalton, Georgia, right?
I
remember correctly.
I actually have the video of it, but my uncle.
That's still my best race, most fun.
Awesome. Yeah, my uncle recorded it, so I do have some of it on tape. But he got so excited watching, he just like set the camera and just let it point out. So like you see us flash by, and then you'll see us through one or two corners, and like he stopped filming. He just was standing there watching the race. So I'm like, I got kind of some of it on tape, but it's not like I saw the videotape, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. And then I started watching. I'm like, oh man, this isn't as good as I was hoping it was gonna be. Like it was. It's still pretty cool to see, but I'll have to try and clip some of it together or something, because otherwise you just kind of watch out across the track for a while. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see what else.
No, I'd love to see it again. I mean, what you remember is never what it was, but I'd love to see it sometime. It'd be interesting.
I think in that instance it was, because I know between all the mains we probably passed each other 10, 15 plus times. It was quite a bit of back and forth, and I know you geared up because I passed you on the straightaway in the one main. You weren't letting that happen again when I tried it in the next main because you were a lot faster. So,
yeah, not gonna let that happen again.
Yeah, I can't say I have that honor. I've done that once to you. That doesn't happen. Most people aren't stupid enough to try that. That's for sure. I was. Let's see. What was the most memorable World Championships? What was your favorite one? Or the best one that you've seen that you've been to?
Just as an event. I'm trying to let me think about that, because wow, we both have been to a lot, and I thought the one in Singapore was pretty memorable. I remember that track just being giant and thousands. It seemed to me, and but I just thought it was really well run. I thought the banquet was awesome. It was one of the best banquets I'd been to at a Worlds. Really nice restaurant. I don't remember. I think I got third, if I remember correctly. But I just thought it was just a good venue. Cool. I'd never been to that part of the world before. I enjoyed that. Of course, the ones you win are always, but
Yeah.
obviously England always holds a great place in my heart because I seem to do well when I
Yeah.
go there to race. And the English put on a great race. They really, in Europe in general, of course, but it
Yeah.
just, the little pomp and circumstance. Races run like a Swiss watch. I mean, if they say you're going to race at 2 o'clock, you're racing at 2 o'clock. It's not. There's never any deviation. So I enjoyed icing over there as well. But I don't know. For some reason, Malaysia sticks out as one. It really was really fun.
Okay. Cool.
How about you? What was your one? I mean, geez, you're at Listalo. When I heard Listalo, I mean, that's like that's everyone's bucket list track ever.
Yeah, I mean that
it should
just
be. If Listalo is, just look it up.
I mean, that was one of those where you just like walked up on the driver's stand and like, you're looking at the mountains and it's just like, why is there a racetrack here? Like, it's just like too picturesque to be playing with toy cars and that type of setting. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of them were a lot of fun. The one that always stands out to me, maybe not be like the fanciest setting or best run or anything crazy like that, but the World Championships in France that I ran at A-Scale at Clermont-Ferrand, and I've never seen any race that I've ever been to. We got to the track at maybe 8 o'clock, 8:15. At that time in the morning, they had like concrete grandstands, like 3 or 4 of them around the track. I forget exactly. They were full of fans from the city, full of face playing, the air horns, French flags. Like, it was off the chain. And you know how loud A-Scale cars are. I did not hear my A-Scale car for the first 5 laps of the main. Like, the crowd was that loud that it was just
wow.
It was the weirdest thing because everything was silent. All you heard was the crowd over A-Scale cars. So to me, that one is just always etched in stone,
crazy.
like in my mind of like, I've never witnessed anything like that kind of crazy. There's Messina was really nice. Holland, when I went, was really nice. A bunch of those that they all, a lot of the European races were all really, really nice and run well, like you said. But just that like insanity was, and granted that was Adrian was TQ and wound up winning. So, I'm sure that added to it having a French guy up front. But
right.
But man, it was just
hometown.
Yeah, it was just unreal. That was probably one of the coolest to see, like that level of people that weren't just a bunch of RC racers standing around watching us race. But so that was pretty neat.
Now, you TQ'd in Cincinnati, right? A-Scale?
Yeah.
Am I wrong on that? Yeah. Okay.
No, I
what for you? What that you did so well at that race, obviously. Yeah. So, what was it you think that with that track enough you were dialed in, or you just had enough prep? Like, what do you think it was that kind of put you over the edge? Because for an American to TQ an A-Scale event, and there's not many. 3 guys maybe? And Gil did it. I don't know if
I think probably Ralph did.
Ralphie did it. I'm not sure today.
I think Ralph did, and maybe Art. I don't know if Art did or not.
Maybe Art, yeah. But I mean, it's not TQ a 8-scale event. yeah, on road for sure.
The biggest, I don't know. For me, there was a few things. Like, one, we had the Evolva stuff. We had all of our stuff figured out pretty well. I had kind of hit, we had gone down there for the pre-worlds and some other races, and I had kind of hit a wall. And that's when I just started trying dumb stuff. And one of the dumb things that I actually did was on the Evolva, how it has like the 2 body mount holes for the rear arms, you could lay them down. Well, I actually dremeled all my stuff out and dremeled another hole that was higher.
Yeah.
So I actually lowered, kind of contrary to today's stuff, I actually lowered the back of my body down, which helped on the left hand, standing on the driver's stand on the left hand end. And that's where, when I was running against Adrian, he was kicking my butt. And he was really fast there. But on the right hand side, then that lost me a little bit of time there. So I wound up actually using some other brake pads that were really, really aggressive that nobody else would use because they would wear out rotors. So I just got a really good brake setup for that. And I think to be honest, I got an engine by accident. The engines were kind of like, they weren't what they are. They are, I swear. And David,
Imagine.
and you can talk to Spashit, and Spashit knows what I had and saw that, and he can confirm that I probably shouldn't have had what I had, because at the time we were running Serial, and we had those, I don't remember those, like 2 case motors, where the sleeve was like machined into the top half of the case. Well, so they're aluminum sleeve motors, and they had those for the Worlds, but they showed up and all the head clearance was too high. So we were breaking plugs and detonating, and guys were blowing up engines. So I checked mine right away and raised them up, but I had already, broken it in that way, and they were basically junk. And I was bugging Andrea Rossi to give me an engine. I'm like, hey, I need to break something in for qualifying. All I got is my club race stuff. The 2 you gave me are dead. Because everybody's breaking engines. Come back later. So like a day or 2 passed, and we were getting ready to start the controlled rounds. And I didn't know, but Francesco had grenaded his car in one of the practice runs. So I came over and was giving him grief about giving me an engine.
Wow.
He reached down in the bag and threw an engine at me. Well, we took it back, and I took it apart right away to check everything and measure, because I knew, like, this is it. This is the only engine I got for this World Championships. Well, when we took it apart, all the crankshafts from Serial were only a single weight crankshaft. This one had a double, and it had the epoxy in the bottom of the crank like a JP. So I don't know if it was a JP crank in a Serial or what it was, but I showed it to Spashit, and I'm like, what is this? He's like, I don't know. They screwed up. Put it in your car and don't say nothing. I TQ'd the Worlds. So
don't look back.
So
there it is.
When I went to run the main, the engine was gone.
Motors are important.
Yes. So after I TQ'd, I went and took pictures. I came back. I put my car back. I went to lunch with my girlfriend, which is my wife now, Angel, and my parents. And when I came back, there was a note. Here's your engines for the final, and it was 2 engines, and my TQ engine was gone. And when I asked for it, they said it was used up, no good. So, and it was back to a single weight crankshaft, and I was out of fuel at 420 for the main. And I went from running 72 miles an hour to like 68, 69. So that's I think that's stuff like that is one of the reasons why I'm really happy to see OS doing so well, because it's really hard for that kind of shit to happen when there's another manufacturer that's up there and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's the other reason why I never took losing those World Championships or any of that stuff to heart, because I knew Cincy was mine. They weren't going to beat me there. Yeah. So I mean, when I TQ'd, it was so funny because I TQ'd and we came back and I still had like that much, you stand the car up on end, I still had like that much fuel in the tank. Like I could run 5.45 on a tank because I was running it like so easy, because it was just so fast. It drove so effortless. So, just like you were running this weekend. So when you have A-scale right, it's super easy. In my opinion,
it's
really
the motor's right.
Yeah. A-scale is all clutch and engine, and as long as your car's in a good corner speed, drivable function. Yeah. So yeah, that I don't think many people know that story, but if they don't believe me, they can ask Spashit, because he was sitting right next to me, and then I showed Nikaido, and Nikaido saw it, and so is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the story from you before. Yeah. So yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it. Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a club over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But I
yeah,
mean,
it's yeah,
but
it's
now,
scale on road of any of the classes.
yeah. But A scale, I mean, I'm still, I mean, that's probably, well, let's put it this way. When we moved and everything, and with all this, the family stuff we had going on and everything, I don't have any more of my trophies. I donated them all. I gave everything away. The only thing I have is the world's TQ. So that's the only one that still hangs out in this house besides the body over there. So some of that stuff I wished I would have kept, but that's okay. The girls' hockey medals and plaques and jerseys and all that stuff will they'll look nicer than a bunch of RC car trophies anyway. So
exactly. I would give it worthy of keeping. Maybe sometimes in the old days, the world stuff was kind of cool, but it's just the trophy not much to speak of anymore. Which is, I'd rather have a plaque I can hang on the wall than a plaque than a trophy.
Yeah, I remember some of the races were like 5 foot tall.
As a kid, you get all these trophies. You get older.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first trophy was taller than I was practically when I was 13. I had to take the whole thing apart. It was like inches and, it's stacked, the old school. And I didn't even know where those trophies are. I mean, I had them for a while and it's just, who knows, they're like kindling now, I think. But I had to have a whole nother suitcase to disassemble those and bring them home. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. I always brought mine home and they would hang around for a little while. And then a lot of times I would pop the tags off of them just to keep like the tag of whatever the finish was or whatever. Those went in a shoebox. I don't even know where any of those are now, but I would take the trophies to the Riders Hobby Shop and they would do recycled trophy races with all my trophies from that. And they'd give like the youngest kid, like, youngest racer award would be like a 5 foot Norca Nationals trophy or something preposterous, and you see the kid like dragging it across the parking lot all excited to take it home type of thing. So that was a way better use than it just collecting dust and making me sneeze at the house. So
for sure,
pretty cool though.
Awesome.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. Do you remember the first time, like, knowing who I was or any of that kind of stuff? Like the first time you met me? Or
what I recollect. Yeah, I recollect. I don't know what track it was. Was it Riders? And I think I met you and your dad, and you guys were like, I remember like assembling a diff or something. And did I help you guys with the diff, or I was looking at, I remember it being kind of I don't know why. I remember it being kind of dark, not a well-lit track, but it was at an indoor track. And I remember, you were, I don't know, 10? I don't know. How old? Yeah, somewhere around there.
I was probably 12 or 13.
It was you and your dad. And I was that. Do you remember what?
That was Riders. It was really strange to me because you guys came into
Riders,
practice. Okay. You guys came into practice before Cleveland, and my dad was working a second job in the machine shop that was in the same complex as Riders. So he would show up, open the door to let us in. I think you guys were already in because they had let you guys in early, but I came up after school. And he would open the door, dump me off, and I would sit there right at that first table until he got there, until he finished with work, and then we would move back to the other side over there. Yeah. But I would sit and do my homework and start charging and running some batteries. And I don't know why, but you and Dieter just come walking over and like, what are you doing, kid? Math?
Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was. I was doing something with my rear axle bearings or something, and it was an old Associated car, and Dieter grabs it and like next thing I know, like Dieter's got my whole car apart and he's back to the pits with reamers and I'm like, what is he doing? And he was reaming the rear ride height adjusters and putting all, like, I remember all that stuff.
Reaming the rear axle, yeah.
Yeah, because mine was all bound up and I was dumping.
That's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you guys, like, I think that was on a Saturday because you guys might have got there on a Friday. Or no, maybe it was on Friday. Because then I wound up running really good over the weekend, and Dieter made some comment. You guys still beat me, of course, but Dieter made some comment about, I shouldn't have fixed your rear axle, little dickhead type of thing. But like, I mean, that was like the first, like, I had seen you, of course, at all these races, and everything, and that kind of stuff. But that was like the first time that like I had like talked to you guys, or you came over and talked to me. And I'm like, what the hell are these guys? Where'd that come from? Like, I was so confused.
Right. No, yeah, that's so funny because I do remember it being an indoor with the rear axle or diff or whatever. And that's, but now you said aligning the axle because we always used to bore the little associated press in bearing carriers, to get everything to line up straight and all that. Yeah. So that's awesome. Yeah, look at that. Now you're the king of tuning and making parts perfect.
Well, Dieter come walking up with associated header card and screwing header card to straighten the plastic bulkheads that were all twisted and everything. It was awesome. So, is that goose?
Back when we had to build cars, not just screw them together.
Yes, that's the kind of stuff I still enjoy doing. Like I almost still think I was I was in the wrong generation. I needed to be like another 10 years and I would have been perfect just with all my Dremel madness and everything.
Yeah, you would have enjoyed putting together an RC 500.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I'm kind of demented like that.
Piano wire. That's funny.
All right, so you want to take a
no, you always by the end you're always tinkering. That's what I always kind of thought was fun. Looking back, kind of just went through and kind of was working on the cars. I thought about you in a way a lot because I was always, you were always tinkering and trying new stuff and just building 1,000 cars. You just had cars and parts and things, and I just, for whatever reason, one, because it was 8 scale and I always associate 8 scale with you in a lot of what I did, but it was just kind of funny. I was just thinking of all the different things you tried over the years, and just experimenting and not afraid to try something. So
yeah, I mean, I'm curious by nature when it comes to any of that kind of stuff. Like but I think like the impact that RC has had on me is why, like, I'll be honest, like I went to work at GM and I mean, I thought for sure I got myself fired once or twice in like the first month or two of being there. And it wound up being the actual things that got me like hired full time and got me to stay type of thing. Like, oh, he doesn't think like the rest of us. Like, he's good. Let's keep this guy, so I and it was kind of funny because I was the new guy and we were talking about C8 Corvette, like rear suspension and brakes, and because I was working on the brakes and everything, I'm like, oh, just move this ball joint here and change this and this, and like all your geometry will be fine. It's the same thing. It just gives me more space. And they're like, who are you? Like, I'm the brake guy. Don't mind me. Like, you could just see everybody just kind of turn and look at me like, who's this dumbass? And I'm like, well, you guys want me to draw a knuckle? Like, I'll put it together for you. What? Yeah, I'll be back. Let me run down to my computer. I'll be back in like 30 minutes. So you guys are going to be here for like an hour, right? Yeah. I ran down, quick chopped up a rear knuckle, changed everything around, ran back up there. I'm like, here, open this part number. Oh, that might actually work. And they wound up using it. So it's actually on the C8 Corvette was the way I chopped it up. So it's one of those things to where I think all the dremeling and tinkering and that kind of stuff it made me effective at my job today. So, and that's all because of RC. So that's the other thing why I want to kind of highlight some of all his history and stuff, because it is all connected. It was like I went to STEAM school with all the, Dieter and Junior and, Cliff Lett and so many of those guys that I grew up asking lots of questions, all that everybody wanted to punch me in the head for, I'm sure. But, that I learned a lot from all those guys, and Nikaido, and, the list goes on and on. So,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Very cool. Well, that's the fun about RC. You can hold it in your hand and you can work with it, right? It's not a full-size car. If it doesn't work, you're not risking anybody's life, but it's all same principles for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, anything with the automotive stuff, I mean, I can draw or come up with something crazy, but it's going to go through 5 other engineers and a whole CAE analysis team and Aerolab and wind tunnel and then testing validation. So I can draw stupid stuff, and there's enough guys behind me to go, no, we're not doing that. So I'm early enough in the process. I can be kind of reckless with my designs and be aggressive, and then they can dial it back if need be. So it's a good fit for me. So, but
right.
All right. So
I forgot I could look at all these comments over here.
Oh, you can see them if you're on your computer. Yeah. I was gonna say, you want to take some questions from some of these?
Yeah. That's fine.
All right. Best Barry Baker story.
We'll take a couple questions. My dogs are due back, so it's out. Oh God, Barry Baker. It has to be Florida. I think. Were you in on that? You were down there. We were in Orlando.
Ralphie protested me the last
that we ran the end of the straightaway flat.
Yes.
He cute.
Yes. So I was still pretty young at that point. I think my mom was down there, and that's when Andre the Giant was staying in our hotel. I remember walking out of our hotel room, and Andre the Giant was like four hotel rooms down from us. Yeah, it was crazy. We watched him get into this caddy where he's like sitting in the back seat. Yeah, it was crazy. But I remember that because I missed the main. I made it, but I think Ralphie protested my car, because it was like teetering on the weight. And so they let it pass, but then they came and got it back from me again and put it back on. And with the wind, it was depending on which way you put it, it was either light or heavy. So they disqualified me.
Into the wind.
Yeah, I was trying to cheat and point it into the wind because I saw I lost a piece of lead out of it, so they DQ'd me. So Ralphie made it in, but I remember marshalling.
That's funny.
So I was.
So that was a very story. Yeah, he TQ'd. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let you tell.
Go ahead. Tell us. Yeah.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, he was. I think it might have been his first TQ in mod and in electric, and so he was worried what to do at the start and how do I, he was worried he's going to get run over. So I was like, "What do you?" And I'm like, "We all run that corner flat out." And he's like, "Really?" Yeah. And then I didn't think I don't know. So you were corner marshaling right where it happened, right? So.
Well, no, I was at the base of the driver's stand, so I was listening to you guys' exchange before the race. And then Blackstock told me kind of the precursor story as you guys decided to screw with him before the start about being able to run the sweeper wide open. And all I remember is him running, tone goes off, and it's on one of Gene's videos. You can see it. He tone goes off and bam, and he's 6 foot short. Because he just held it wide open and snapped the wheel and just pow and goes helicoptering off the track and yelling at the marshal to put his car back on the track. Barry, there's no front end on it. You're not going anywhere. They set it down. He went straight into the next board, and you guys drove away. I think you won. So, yeah, that same race was really my.
Yeah, that was my best Barry story.
Yeah. That race was, I'll add to that whole event. That was one of my first races with, I think, Associated down in Florida like that. And first real interaction with Barry. So we were in his hotel room. I come walking in, it was pouring rain, and like a stupid ass kid, I had no shoes on and was just in my socks. So my socks are just soaked to the bone, right? Barry's John with somebody, may have been like Kevin Jellick or Bobby Ochoa or one of those guys, or I don't know who. And I don't even know what I said. I said something, some sort of one-liner that like zinged him, and everybody started laughing. Well, I think I was sitting on his bed, and he come like bull charging at me. And as he came at me, I put my hands up, and he hit me, and I went like this and rolled back, and he went flying head first into the wall, like across the bed, and just like slammed the wall, fell off the side of the bed. So everybody's just rolling laughing. So I'm cracking up at this point because I can't believe he didn't like smash me, because I was still small. I wasn't full size me now. And so he gets up and picks me up like in a bear hug, like he's gonna smash me. Well, I'm up in the air, so I reached down and grabbed a sock. Of course, one of these wet, nasty socks I was trudging through the rain across the parking lot in. I grabbed a sock, watered it up, and stuffed it in his mouth because he's as he's picking me off the ground. I stuffed it right in his mouth. He dropped me. We were all in tears for half an hour. He's in the bathroom brushing his teeth. So that was one of my first interactions with Barry Baker.
That's
sorry, B.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love Barry. He came out to the race. He was
I saw the picture with all
Saturday,
you guys.
I think, when I saw him. So he came by and visited.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's good to see him still racing too.
It's fun seeing him always.
Yeah. Let's see. What other questions we got here? Blackheader, of course. Josh Who. Yeah. Hi, Mark. It's good enough for who it's for, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty much it. Not too many questions on here. Or did I miss something? You see anything?
That's fine. Sure. Well, it's always fun chatting. I mean, no, we need to do more of this. I always think we got to get the history of RC somehow recorded. Somehow we're losing people left and right from way old days, and it's fun to make sure we get some of these stories out.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
The history of the cars and all that would be really fun. But
I'll let you.
It's been very fun. So I found your new little podcast here. It's cool.
Yeah, I actually sent Dieter and Ernie the link that I sent you to like join in. So I was like, hey, if you guys want to pop on and say hi, like feel free. But neither one of them have showed up in my little window down here to add them to it. So I was trying to get them to jump into it. Let's see, Putnam.
Too bad.
Yeah. Pulfer asking if you remember
favorite Dieter-built car.
Yeah, there's two new ones from Pulfer.
Yeah, I do remember that. I've had a few of those instances. Yeah, I've had a few people step on you. That's a big, in a 12-scale car, it's a problem. They're so small. But and my favorite Dieter-built car is probably the EV10. There we go.
Yeah, the one you won the 10-scale.
That was fun with the inline car. Yeah. That was kind of car, and you never know if it's going to work, but it did work.
Yeah. Well, I was laughing because I always tried to, Dieter always told me stories of how much you hated the inline 12-scale car because of how just out of control it was to drive. And I like egged him on for years trying to get him to build me. I'm like, I want one. Build me one. Like, that sounds right up my alley. Like, what? It almost spins out every time you go into a corner. Like, I want that car.
Yeah.
He would never build me one. He's like, no, you just wreck it and don't.
If you were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were young. It took everything I had to get that thing around. It was so tiring, but it was fast, but boy.
You like lapped the field.
Maybe I was getting old.
The field, and he said it's the worst car I've ever driven. He told me that story every van ride. I'm like, well, build me one. I'll tell you it's the best thing ever. Let me drive it. I want to try it.
That car was a mess. But for sure. But it's oh my gosh.
Robert says we should
Trying to
we
think
should
of what are some of these questions.
Robert said we should throw down Super Pulse style with our old Kyosho cars. Maybe someday if I make it out to California. I would love to come out.
You got to come out and run Steel City. You just got to.
I would absolutely love to.
Eventually.
I would love to. But right now, my house and hockey is eating all of my budget. So I can only live vicariously through you and all the other guys that are still racing right now. So when you look at hockey sticks that are $300 and all that kind of stuff.
Of fun.
Yeah, I really hope to get out there and race with you guys.
Yeah.
So maybe in the next few years.
Yeah.
You guys can lap me and laugh at me.
You would love it for sure. So no, I don't think it'll take you long to get up to speed.
But I'll have to drive something
but
first. It's been 2 years since I've raced. So definitely some rust probably accumulating.
Like I said, the driving part, it's tougher, but it's the racing part that's the toughest. So like you can drive practice laps and go fast, but the minute you're on the clock is when I get nervous. I'm 53 years old. I've been doing this too long. Why am I nervous? Fire. But you do. For me, it took a lot of races to get that out of my system and just relax and go drive. So but now I'm there. So now I got to maintenance it here every month.
One more question from me, and then if anybody else wants to throw one in there, but are you like I am when it comes to this stuff? To like when I haven't raced for a while, when I was working real heavily in the military company, I think I didn't race for about 9 months. And when I came back, like everything felt so fast. And then it was like the first day back, like everything felt so fast. And then the next morning I came back to the track and everything felt so slow. It was like I recalibrated to where everything just felt like it was 100 mile an hour one day, and then it was like 25 the next day. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, why is this feel so slow? And like the lap times were faster. I'm like, what? So when you started racing a lot more, did it feel like that to you, or?
Maybe the first day to the second day, but then the cars felt, the cars are fast, very nervous off center, when you're first playing with them, and then you kind of get used to the speed and the sensitivity. But I don't know if it really ever truly slowed down until the nationals. That it took me a long time for it to slow down in processing, like what the car's doing. And by the main, I was already starting to look ahead. Like in the main, I could see the cars ahead of me. I knew I had spatial awareness of the track, not just my car, which all I had was my car pretty much, through the year and a half I was doing it. And then it just started opening up at the nationals. And part of it, I think my car setup and it was really easy to drive fast. And then that opened up the track to me, where now I could start planning passes and if I'm them and the whole thing. So that's kind of when it slowed down for me, but it took a while for me to do that. It wasn't a one day, week and then, I'm back. It took me a long time. And it mostly, like I said, I think you really need to race and not just practice. You need to practice, but you got as many races as you can, because that's when it starts to matter, because practicing in your head, you're not really, you want to go faster, but there's nothing at stake. And in a race, even if it's just a club race or whatever, but it's still your time. You have to go look at your time and see how fast or slow you were. So that's, to me, I think the more racing I did, the slower it got. And it was the racing, not the practice. So.
Yeah, that was, I haven't taken a long enough break to where I think it took a longer time to build back up. But that's one of the things I don't think people realize is how much like racing we've done to where through so many laps, through so many races, through so many years, everything for us, even though it's however fast it is, it feels 50% or 30% speed of what it is. Like, oh, we could go way faster if the car was just better, or the motor, or horsepower was better or whatever. So I think that's one thing that people don't understand with the amount of like time and practice and all that we put into it, to where once you get to that, where, like you said, everything slows down and then your field of vision opens up, then that's when you start going really fast. So that's cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Durla
Well, I think
says,
I got to get moving.
Oh,
I have
I'm
a
sorry.
feeling my
I'll let you
house
get
is gonna
going then.
the 2 puppies rolling in.
Okay.
So, no, it's not a problem, but I've really enjoyed it. I love seeing everybody who came on, and it's very cool. So just let me know.
Yeah. We'll have to, maybe we'll catch up with you after the October race and see if you get your revenge.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. I'll keep my fingers crossed that everything goes proper.
All right.
So.
All right, sounds good. Thanks everybody, and thank you very much, Joel. It's been an honor racing with you over the years and trying to catch you as a kid, and maybe I can elaborate more on my journey trying to catch up to you over the years. When I think I finished second you 3 or 4 times in a row at Cleveland and stuff like that. So I had a tall order to try and catch you. So, but thanks again, and awesome to see you back running so well.
Well, thanks, Josh. It's been great. So love to do it again. So thanks everybody for joining in. It's been fun.
All right. Thanks, Joel. Thanks everybody. Catch you guys later.
We'll see ya.
See ya.
Okay, thanks.